thank you. I had a feeling this was going to be a very good complementarity between these two perspectives and presentations. The links not only across the different sectors, but also from the local to the global, and the importance of this interconnected relationships. And the relationships between technology and institutions, I think, are all rich areas for work. To get the discussion going, we have Tewodaj Mogues, my colleague and senior research fellow here at IFPRI. She leads the cluster on public investments and institutions under the CGIAR research program on policies, institutions, and markets. Her interests include public investment in rural areas, local public finance and decentralization, political economy, and public service delivery. So lots of these themes. Her empirical research has focused on Ghana, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Nigeria, and Uganda. Again, countries we've heard about. Tewodaj has published numerous journal articles and book chapters and served as guest editor for European Journal of Development Research on the special issue on public investments in and for agriculture. She received her PhD in Agriculture and Applied Economics from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Tewodaj?
Thank you so much. Given Katrina and I have 5 minutes, we really won't have any slides up here, so we can keep that beautiful picture. Oh, I see the South Africa. I thought it was up here. So yeah, thank you so much again, Ruth, for the introduction. Before I give some quick reactions to the presentations and as well to Stuti's work, the book that I had an opportunity to read, I guess I just want to start out by saying that generally the notion that people, irrespective of geography, so irrespective of whether they get to live in a rich nation like many of us or a poor nation, should have the ability to select and sanction their leaders based on their performance. This notion recognizes the fundamental dignity of humans as key agents. So this intrinsic value, I think, is fairly uncontroversial. But I think the seminar really will focus essentially on how these rights affect economic outcomes in general, as well as in particular the Sustainable Development Goals through the public goods and the public resource allocation changes that implementing these rights can achieve. So that's really the focus here. I believe that there's a sense that this topic, from various conversations with colleagues, that this topic is something of a low priority or has become a low priority for many major development organizations in this day and age. But I think the fact that we have Ray Offenheiser from the president of Oxfam America here to speak about this, as well as Stuti's book, which is institutionally a World Bank policy research report, would suggest somewhat otherwise, as well as the fact that her book, which when you download it, you can see on the back, has received really positive remarks from the country director for India of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So again, a major development organization. It's been truly a pleasure and very eye-opening experience to read Stuti's work. And it has also received acclaim from really the leading thinkers and intellectuals on this topic, such as Darren Acemoglu and James Robinson and economics Nobel Roger Myerson. So just wanted to start out with these remarks. Just 3 very quick issues maybe to lead into the later conversation before Katrina, of course, will add as well. The first is that I think it would have been great to understand, as compelling as the case is, that transparency and provision of public information can help galvanize citizen engagement for economic outcomes. It would be great to actually situate this particular factor or phenomenon against other factors that can have the same outcome or that can operate through citizen engagement, really before going deep into the ways that transparency can support political engagement. So that's just sort of one quick remark. The second reaction I had, both listening to Stuti and reading her book, as well as from Ray's remarks, is the question about the promise that, or the suggestion that there's significant promise for citizen engagement at the local level, at the local government level or subnational level, versus or more than, potentially more than the national level. I think there are many arguments that would suggest that is the case, maybe even quite widely. But the one argument that would propose that there is more local competition or more political competition and therefore more space for citizen engagement to bring about better public goods allocation at this local level more than the national level is a very empirical question, let me put it that way. It may apply in some cases. I certainly am aware of a number of cases where the political space is much more closed at the local government level versus the national level. For example, where the opening of space is more used for signaling to the international community that there's a level of popular legitimacy, and given that national levels are just more visible internationally than local levels, this may obtain. So I just want to say that this is certainly something that should be taken on a case-by-case basis. The final remark I have, and maybe I want to add real quick also to raise remarks on Burkina Faso and Ghana. I'd be really interested to hear more about whether the action that took place really took place from the local level versus the national. I would imagine that the nature of these revenue allocations would suggest that a lot of the activism was effective at the national level, but I'd like to hear more. So the final remark I'd have is that the study, as I read it, I think it does more than it says it does, in that it has sort of, it places this caveat that both the research as well as the insights derived from it take political institutions as a given. My reading is that really what it does is it takes countries as a given, in that a lot of the work is sort of within country research, rather than taking political institutions as a given, which are, of course, are not the same thing. There are actually a number of very interesting evidence and insights provided that show how when you have sometimes incremental changes in political institutions within a country, how that affects political engagement or opportunities therefore, and how that affects public resource allocation from from China to Indonesia, Kenya, even the United States. So I think it does more than it says it does, and I think that's a good thing given that there are a number of cases where political institutions change within a given country. Thank you very much.